for me, I ran as for president in 2012 on a socialist thing because I wanted to run against Obama, who scared me.
Right.
But I was like, well, let's get naked if we're going to talk about socialism, not that fake stuff you're talking about, Obama. And I confronted all of that as a real socialist, right? And then I saw what was frightening to me was the amount of Jew hating that was within the left. It was just starting, and everywhere I would go in America to speak about, Americans and profit sharing, which, in some way they could say is a socialist thing, but it's right.
Yes,
it's the right thing.
Sure.
Right? So everywhere I would go to speak, these people who were American, they would their first question to me was, what about the like robots, what about the Israeli occupier of the West Bank and the Palestinian homeland? What about that? What is your, and their voice would be like this, like a robot. And I'd say, excuse me, what do you know about stand your ground gun laws in this state that you live in,
Right.
What? Because that was around the Trayvon Martin time.
Right.
I go, what do you actually know about the law in your community that controls your entire life and you want more of that shit?
Right.
What do you know about reality? And they'd be like, don't try to change the subject from the racist apartheid state of Israel. So I had to get out of there. And plus I had a Muslim woman as my campaign manager and somebody from a man from Nation of Islam here in America who was a pro-American Muslim man who did all these great things in Texas for children and education, and a black woman as my also campaign manager. Well, these white people on the left, they got in their face and they said, they called them not the right kind of Arab, not the right kind of black man, not the right kind of black women. And I was like, you're ungodly racism. I can't stand it.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely true.
Projection. And so that's why I left. And my platform was very much a populist platform. Then I had interviewed Trump in 1998 on my talk show, and I told him at the time, had him and Michael Moore on as guests, and we all three debated because back in that time it was legal to debate and converse. It's still legal. We were talking about capitalism versus, we were talking about economic systems. And Trump won like a SOB. He flattened Big Fat Michael like, a pancake. And I said, you ought to run for president. And he shrugged me off. Well, here it comes. I had just run for president. Then I hear Trump speak, and he's saying so much of what I said that I was like, oh my God, he's for real.
He is for real.
He is.
It's an amazing thing that people and you can understand it because he came up as a celebrity, and they, by and large, they just trust a lot of the celebrities, particularly people who would be inclined, middle class people, and but I think they picked up right away that he makes decisions the way our old-fashioned politicians used to make decisions. What's right for America?
Yeah, what's right for America.
Now, he could be right or wrong about that, but that's what he's thinking about.
Yes, he is.
Then he makes a decision, and then you worry about the political party. You don't start with the political parties are supposed to advance the good of America, not the good of the political party.
Right.
That's why we have it. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that bothers the heck out of me. You know how they want to change the names of everything? Anybody who had any association with slavery, like George Washington because he had slaves, or Jefferson, who tried everything he could do to free the slaves, and he just couldn't do it. But why don't they change the name of the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party promoted slavery. The Democratic Party almost created its continuation in America. The Democratic Party supported the other side of the Civil War.
Well,
and the Democratic Party did segregation.
Yeah.
And right
Jim
up until
Crow.
Biden, his best friend was the Grand Poobah, or whatever you call him, in the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
So that party is completely associated with slavery. the other hand, the Republican Party was founded to end slavery.
Yeah, Lincoln.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're going to go back to those days,
Well, that's why
they need a
don't
new
want-
name. If we're
no,
gonna-
Rudy, that's why they don't want to go back
the
to
Cleveland
those
Indians
days.
have to change. They should change.
And did you see that the actual Native Americans were petitioning that to bring the name back?
Well, they don't matter. The Native Americans don't matter. The blacks don't matter. If the blacks mattered, these cities that are setting records for murder, like Philadelphia set a record for murder 2 years ago, more than ever in 250 years.
Baltimore.
Chicago on weekends is like a war zone. St. Louis, Baltimore, they're all Democratic mayors. Soros paid for DA.
Yes, absolutely.
This is all because of the Democrat Party and its racism. Because the people suffering the most there are black people. And they don't care. They don't care about what happens to those black people.
Because I had to go up there because my son went to college there. And so I'd go visit him, you know. Plus, I broke my knee and I had to live there for 3 months in this hotel. But I'd go outside. It was that part where, you know, downtown.
Right.
Everybody homeless, about 90%, they're black on the streets in Nancy Pelosi's district, and then she gets down on one knee with an African scarf. I almost puked.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. They totally disfranchised and took everybody's house, and they became homeless, and that was their thanks
And of course,
for voting Democrat.
Nancy and her husband became zillionaires based on his insider trading.
Yep.
That other people go to jail for. I mean, they are fabulously wealthy, but she comes out of a Baltimore political Democrat machine.
Yeah.
That is an example of what's wrong with the old American city. The only thing wrong with the old American city is it's a dictatorship. Right. New York City is not a democracy, a republic. It's a Democrat dictatorship.
Yes, it is. That must break your
except
heart.
for Staten Island. I broke through it.
Well, can we ask, how did you do that? That's what I want to ask.
I broke through it because, first of all, the population was a little different. This makes some difference. It was 5-1 Democrat when I won. It's now 7-1 Democrat. And the Democrats were different.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, I got a big Democrat vote.
Yeah,
you did.
I had a real Democrats for Rudy group that was almost as strong as my Republican and Independent group. I couldn't get that today.
No.
Today, the Democrats in New York want to put me in jail. They'd like to see me. They took away my law license, the Bar Association, because they are ideological Democrats and Trump haters. There's a sickness. This Trump thing is a sickness.
Isn't it?
You know, if you just step back from it, what does the guy do that's so bad? I mean, say you don't like his personality. But now we look at the condition of the country. He didn't have any wars, right? We've got all those people in Ukraine.
They don't like that.
Those people in Ukraine would all be alive if he were president, because Putin would never have gone in if he were president. I don't think there's anybody in the world that believes that.
Israel, too.
Israel, I think you never would have had this happening in Israel. It didn't happen while he was there. In fact, at this point, if he had been going forward with the Abraham Accords, you'd probably have a pretty darn good alliance between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the other Arab states.
Egypt.
And that was broken up completely by Biden because Biden's in love with Iran. Biden wants to say he's a friend of Israel, and he sent hundreds of millions, and he had $6 billion headed to Iran.
Iran was broke.
Yeah. You can't tell me you're my friend if you're giving $6 billion to somebody who wants to kill me. No. I mean, if I'm Bibi, I look at him and say, wait a second, I don't need a friend like that. You're giving $6 billion to a group of people who are dedicated. The most important thing to them is to destroy Israel and kill Jews. And you gave them $6 billion, pal. I know Bibi has to pretend, but deep down, he's got to know that this friend of Israel is a bunch of political crap.
Oh, you see.